Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I am JP, John Poz, and of course today we are joined by Mr. No Days Off, the former WWE World Tag Team Champion. You may know him from the UWN, the Primetime Live, and New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong, Mr. Fred Roster. Welcome in, sir. How are you doing today?
Thanks for having me. I always say don't die with a story and you tell it. But I always correct the interviewer when they say former. I don't like the word former. Former sounds washed up. I like to call myself WWE veteran because my journey not only started in 2009 when I got signed, but it started, 2003 when I started doing extra work for WWE. So I've been around for quite some time. So I'm happy to be on your show. And like I said, I have my own podcast. When you're with WWE, you kind of need permission to wipe your ass. You know what I mean? So when I get
Mhm.
opportunities like this, uh, I always say, let me share my story because there's 7 billion plus people on this planet. And I've got to continue to roll up my sleeves and do what I do. So again, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. And it's great to have on a fellow New Jersey boy. I know you were trained by the one and only Kevin Knight in the IWF in New Jersey.
Kevin Knight, yeah, I started September 11th, 2002. 18 plus years in the business, still rocking and rolling. But I made a lot of sacrifices. Joining IWF was something I wanted to do, and I used scholarship money from high school to pay $2,000. I didn't want to do any installment payments or anything. This is what I wanted to do, and I paid up front, and then the rest was history.
Wow, 2 grand. Ooh, that's quite a chunk of change, but obviously ended up being worth it.
Yeah, I used scholarship money, and my parents didn't even know that I had joined a wrestling school. I didn't let them know until a year into my training. And then when my mom found out, she said, "You have 6 months to make it." It took me from 2002 to 2009 to make it to WWE. So she was happy. But yeah, it was something that I wanted to do since I came out her womb in 1983. So I had that laser like focus. That saying, oh, people wanted to be doctors, lawyers. I wanted to be a WWF wrestler at the time.
Nice. Love that. Love that. And we're around the same age from New Jersey, so that's
I just
definitely a
turned
good
37. How old are you?
38. Just turned
38.
38 a few months ago. Yeah, so the the early 80s being born in New Jersey was quite a time. I tell you that much. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I had a blast. One of my first wrestlers I ever met, like actually got to shake his hand, was Louis Spicoli, and like from back then till now, Louis Spicoli was an opening match type of guy, and I was just so mesmerized by I was actually meeting a wrestler. So even still to this day, you know, I you know I meet wrestlers and I just fanboy. Like recently doing stuff with New Japan and stuff like that, fanboy over the tremendous talent there. But again, we'll get into that. But yeah. Louis Piccoli was the first wrestler I ever met, so I always had a respect for wrestlers. What I'm trying to say, whether you are a opening match type of guy or a main event guy, there's respect in what we do, and giving it is very important. Respect.
Definitely, for sure. Now, what we're going to talk about today, just at the start, is UWN's Primetime Live, which is available on Fight TV. And of course, it's available on in demand and all your regular pay per views as well. How do you think everything is going with UWN? Because they are rocking and rolling, and you've been making quite an impact over there.
I've been having a blast. Dave Marquez Productions heads everything, and Dave Marquez and I are very close because he was the first guy to give me my opportunity outside of Dirty Jersey and wrestle for a NWA tournament back in maybe 2007, I believe. So I was able to travel to Phoenix, Arizona for the first time ever because of Dave Marquez, and to be in such an incredible tournament back in 2007 when he asked me to come aboard and be a part of this production, I said, "Yeah, absolutely. I'll do anything for Dave." and I've just been having a blast. I got to work with Eric Redbeard again, and it's funny, like we wrestled years and years ago with WWE, and I always bring up the story where on live TV, Titus O'Neil and I, we had these different colored trunks, so many, and these baby blue tights. I hated them. I hated wearing them. I hated wearing them, but it was our time to wear them. And Eric Redbeard, I remember us working for the first time. He's 6'8", 315 pounds. I'm 6'1", 240. He body slammed me so hard, I sharded my pants in the blade, in the baby blue trunk. So
Wow.
I still couldn't get the stain out. It's still like baby blue trunks and brown. So I always bring them to appearances to show people my different, my three top favorite pair of trunks. The trunks that Tyson and I won the titles in, the pink breast cancer awareness, and those baby blue trunks. So I was very happy to work with Eric Redbeard and just, do my thing. Recently, last week, I worked Chris Dickinson for the first time, and like I had a blast with him. We fought and fought and fought, and we wrestled a couple of years ago for Chikara. For the King of Trios in a tournament, but I never really worked them one-on-one. So it was a blast, and continue to look out for Mr. No Days Off on Primetime Live. That's for sure.
So just going back to Redbeard, did he remember what happened with your trunks, and does he still remember that?
I didn't bring it up because I was just doing other things for production. But yeah, it's something that I always share at signings whenever I have a table set up, and it's just a good conversation starter and just funny. This
Yeah, oh
man would
yeah.
always say, this man would always say in promo class years ago that never be afraid to make a fool of yourself. So like, I'm 37. I don't care. It's just a really cool story. It lets people know that you're real.
Yeah, for sure. And you hear more and more of those stories. Flair has a story about it. CM Punk has a story about it. There's a lot more stories about, guys doing that in the ring than you would even think. You don't, as a fan, you don't even think of stuff like that.
Yeah, and I told Eric Redbeard, I said to him, I said, please, don't hurt me. You're a big guy, just, because sometimes the bigger guys get real excited and they just like, oh man, like they're killing you. So I said, hey, I'll do whatever you want. Just take care of me. He stuck me. He stuck me nicely with a nice body slam. That's why I had that accident. But moving on.
Yes, yes. So you beat him in the tournament via DQ. Obviously, the big world title, UWN title tournament. Then, like you mentioned, Dickinson, you lost the next round, but it was a great match. You keep having great matches. The first time you were there, you won a three-way with Masters and James Storm. So, are you happy with kind of your progress? Because we're seeing like a new, different side of you. I feel like in ring, maybe a little bit of a tweaking your game nowadays.
Um, since being released from WWE way back in 2017, I've done some of my best work, like on the independents, because I've had more time to kind of just tell a story. I've learned so much from WWE, but it's very tough at times to tell a story in 5 or 6 minutes. When you have 20, 25 minutes where you can really tell a story and get the people invested, whether it's for me, whether it's in front of 100 people, 10,000 people, or no people, this is still so much fun for me. So the respect of my peers, like for example, Sean Spears, him and I wrestled last year before the pandemic, and he came to the back after the match and he was like, man, I needed that. And that's the biggest compliment in the world from your peers, saying, man, they needed that fight. They needed that, that performance, So, um, you know, I'm going to continue to keep rocking and rolling. I still have a lot left in the tank. I still have a lot left to offer. And, I'm like wine. I age gracefully with time. And whenever opportunities pop up, like New Japan or Dave Marquez, bucket list organizations or people that I owe it to. I'm a loyal guy, so when I'm all in, I'm all in, and I tell promoters and people know that they don't get half of me; they get all of me.
Now, the thing is with you, it's like, okay, the best is still yet to come. But I recently just saw highlights of you with New Japan Pro Wrestling on Strong, and you're wrestling Tom Lawler in what appeared to be, just an awesome match. And you were mentioning how great the match was, possibly a dream match scenario. So, kind of take us through that Tom Lawler match because I only was able to see the highlights that you posted, but it looked like an awesome match.
Yeah, I'm 37 years old, man, and I'm proud of it. But when you see him, he's scary, and I'm not afraid to admit that even before we even touch, I'm like, man, this guy could murder me. This guy could kill me. But after it was all said and done, I'm like, wow, man, I could I could fight him every night. If we were on a tour 10 nights in a row, I could fight him every night because he brought intensity and timing. Timing is so important for me. There's a saying, those that can't teach. I'm not a Roman Reigns, but I have a good mind for the business. I feel I know what works for me. I know what kind of works for others, or to kind of help tell that story. And timing is very, very important for me. And Lawler has great timing and great intensity. And I felt like I was having my dream match with Kurt Angle because that's what it felt like, because he has such a snap to his stuff. Again, I've never been in the ring with Kurt Angle, and it's very, very sad for me. But sharing the ring recently with Tom Lawler, I need a rematch, and hopefully we can do that rematch in 2021 in Japan. I want to still wrestle in Japan. It's still bucket list of mine to wrestle actually in Japan, because anytime with WWE and I was on a tour, I was either on a different tour or not on tour at all whenever they did Japan. So it's always been on my bucket list, and I think about it day and night like a madman. Day and night, bro. So at me just speaking it into existence, and I don't know if you want me to get into how the New Japan came about, but
Yeah.
I
Oh, yeah.
apologize. With my podcast, I can go on tangents and just have fun, but you're the boss.
Yeah, please tell us all about New Japan because that's such an interesting style, and I like that you obviously are adapting quite well to that style.
Well, I've always loved the New Japan style. I was very intimidated, though. When I joined IWF, I learned the 80s style. Kevin Knight, I learned how to wear tights and boots, to be professional with 8x10s, to have at the time VHS tapes with promos, all that stuff. I learned from Kevin Knight how to be professional, and also how to call it in the ring, which is very tough to do. Call it in there and tell a story. But after a while, after being the golden boy literally at IWF, I needed to venture off and kind of learn. I I don't know what I was saying at the time. Oh, I need to learn a strong style or whatever that may be. So I had to venture off to another wrestling school to work with guys that call matches like A through Z. So 18 years in the business, I know how to either call it in there or plan A through Z or whatever. But getting that extra training, uh, got me able to feel what it was like to do that style. So fast forward to doing WWE and then my release. I've done a ton of interviews saying that New Japan is on my bucket list to do. So I just kept speaking it into existence. And Lance Hoyt was at the time with New Japan, and we ran into each other because we knew each other from FCW in 2010, and then we ran into each other the end of 2019. September 2019, we ran into each other in Pomona, California, and I told him, well, he asked me, "Hey, man, how you doing with everything?" I said, I'm doing all right, rocking and rolling, keeping it moving, but I've always had dreams of doing New Japan. And he said, well, New Japan's actually doing a show November 2019 at the Globe Theater. And I said, I'll be there. Lance gave me a flyer, and normally with interviews, I show people the flyer because I still have the flyer. I can't find it. But he gave me the flyer. I showed up to the New Japan show, and I watched the show from beginning to end to see as a fan and also as a talent if I fit there, if I fit in, if I fit in, if I fit in. And from beginning to end, I watched the show, and I said, man, I can hang with these guys, man. So then that's when I eventually approached Rocky Romero, who welcomed me in earlier during the show, and I met some of the wrestlers. And, at the time, 18 years in the business or so, I still wanted to get there early and feel the ring because it's a harder ring than WWE. I wanted to feel the ring, just feel it, feel it. It's just, again, we're crazy, crazy wrestlers, but I wanted to feel the ring and be able to experience it and just be there and just sit there and just say to myself constantly if I belong there. And then I talked to Rocky Romero, and he said, well, after, the new year, we'll have you come down to the dojo for a tryout. And I'm not unfamiliar with doing tryouts because with WWE, May 4th, 2009, out of 75 guys and girls from all over the world, I beat them all out. So I told Rocky Romero for New Japan, if I have to try out, I'll do whatever it takes. And once 2020 hit, eventually the pandemic hit. And then he reached out to me in June or July about if I would be down to do these shows coming up. And I said, Rocky, let me get back to you because I wanted to check with my family. Because I have family, COVID's running rampant and, close proximity with the talent. I don't want to bring any of that stuff to my family. So my uncle, who's a urologist that deals with prostate cancer here in Los Angeles, I told him about it. Him and I are very close. And he said, hey, man, it sounds like a great idea. Go for it. And that's when Rocky had called, texted me the next day. Hey, man, have you checked in with your family to see if you would be down to do this? And he understood because he has a family too. And I said, Rocky, just give me the night and I'm going to just definitely check with my family. And once they checked and gave me the thumbs up, I called back Rocky and said, Rocky, yeah, let's do it. And I've just been rocking and rolling, and I'm just truly blessed to have an opportunity. And I literally spoke it into existence, and it happened. So, the brain is a powerful, powerful thing. So I've been staying in shape. Like I said, health is wealth, and I feel good and I look good. And like I said, it's just a start.
No problem, like doing the tryout. I know you said you're obviously very versed to tryouts, but you're still a 10-year WWE veteran. You've been wrestling for 17 years, really. I mean, was there any problem doing the tryout for New Japan? Was that any issue for you?
Well, the thing is, the tryout didn't happen because I did this. I went to the show in November of 2019, and then he said he would contact me earlier in the year 2020, and then stuff started getting crazy with the pandemic, so that never happened. So months and months go by, and then Rocky contacted me over the summer and said, "Would you be down to do these shows?" So no tryout. So I can do one or two things. I can shit to bed with New Japan, or I can have some stellar matches, man. Because at this point in my career, all I want to do is help elevate talent, and I'm going to make sure that you're gonna earn it too in the ring. But at the end of the day, I want to be able to elevate talent. I banged up my elbow January 2017. I had the Tommy John surgery, so going into the match with Eric Redbeard, he knew I got injured, with WWE. So at Primetime Live, he went right for the arm because he got disqualified. So he injured me going into Chris Dickinson, and Chris Dickinson him and I had a stellar match. And then ultimately from this injury, I had to tap out because I didn't want him to break my arm. So that's storytelling 101, go back to past injuries, and really tell that story on social media as well, because social media for me is like a second job, but also social media is my open diary to the world. So anything I ever post always comes from the heart with the intent to inspire, motivate, and educate the masses. So you'll hear people say, "Oh, I need a break from social media." Well, you can have a break, not missing no days off.
Yes, that's right. Now, as far as New Japan and UWN, obviously, right now they're filming in California. You're in California. What is going to be like the future? Are you going to pop up on both shows a lot more often? Are you taking some time off? I know you missed your no days off, but what's next?
Um, well, one, I went to damn gyms to open up. I'm just dying. Like, yeah, I can build a home gym here, but baby, I need a crowd. I like people looking at me. I like working out by myself, but like, come on, like, please. That's where I'm at my happy place. Doing these Rocky style workouts in the backyard, or and plus you're by yourself too. So that's the true test when you're working out. Me, myself, and me versus me. It's been tough since March. Um, but like I said, I got to keep rocking and rolling, because when opportunities come up like this, I don't want to blow out any knees. I don't want to look fat anymore. I want to look healthy. My workouts in the gym, my workouts in the backyard have been a lot of agility ladder, a lot of jump roping to keep those feet quick, because slow feet don't eat. So, uh, like I said, a lot of mobility work, keeping everything nice and loose, but definitely I want to do some more work with Primetime Live and New Japan Pro Wrestling. 2021, I'm looking to go to Japan. So I'm just crossing my fingers and then praying every day, literally.
I know you said Kurt Angle is a big dream match of yours, and I know off air when we were talking earlier, you were saying Shane Douglas is another kind of dream match, right? Is Shane somebody you look up to?
Well, Shane is like a guy like I was a kid, teenager, and he would just do promos and I would just listen, and like I kind of knew what he was talking about, but he would speak so eloquently, and like he would tell a story. I remember one promo from ECW. I remembered he was like, and he had that raspy voice, and that's something I kind of took from him, because like not being comfortable with myself, uh, I would always try to deepen my voice and sound more masculine. I didn't want to think people would think of me differently. So I would always deepen my voice and sound like this when I did promos. I'm Bone Crusher Fred Sampson. I'm going to break you in half. So I don't have to do that anymore. I can just be myself. I'm comfortable with myself. So I loved Shane's voice. I loved how he spoke. And also in WCW, when he was, teaming with Ricky Steamboat, another favorite of mine. I have this action figure sitting behind me.
Nice.
Um, the selling, the selling is important, and the selling is key for me. And Ricky Steamboat, Shane Douglas, they always brought it. So the last time I saw Shane Douglas was last year at a wrestling show. I forget which show, but it had been a couple of years since I had seen him. And anytime I see him, I'm like a kid. I'm like staring at him, like eyeing him up, and like just watching him, because I love how the wrestlers move, the wrestlers talk, the wrestlers move. I'm still a fan.
Yeah, he's great. You got to love the franchise. Absolutely love him. Now, if I can go back, you said WWF and kind of break it in, obviously FCW in 2009. Who was the one that actually signed you? Is it Johnny Ace? Like, who's the one that actually kind of recruits you and brings you into the fold?
Well, Dr. Tom Pritchard will always be near and dear to my heart. He discovered me in IWF in 2002, and from 2002 to 2009, he just kept saying, "Keep doing what you're doing, keep doing what you're doing." And at the time when he was running the system, he would tell me back in like 2004, 2005, anytime WWE is in the Northeast area, Nassau Coliseum, Boston, wherever, if I'm not actually booked as an extra, just show up anyway because I've been there enough that they kind of know my face, so I can just like walk in. Oh, there's an extra. There's the extra Fred. There's the extra Fred. So like there would be times where I would just show up, and if I worked or if I did something, they would pay me. If I didn't do anything, I just observed and learned and didn't ask for any pay. But I think after a while, it caught on to certain extras like, hey, he's not on the list. How's he like getting the hookup? So I'll always hold Dr. Tom Pritchard up high. But yes, it was John Laurinaitis that signed me.
What was that experience like as far as like getting signed and is it a ton of pressure? Like, all right, now, now I really got to kick in high gear or something you were absolutely ready for?
I remember John Laurinaitis saying, because I had been an extra over 40 times with WWE over that
Oh,
course
wow.
2002 to 2009. I had been extra over 40 times over that time. And I remember going to Laurinaitis saying, Johnny, what do I have to do to be a part of the WWE family? And he said, hey, you just got to show me something different. You got to show me that you have personality. Thing about me is I tend to do people's like accents and stuff like that. But yeah, that's how he talked to me. Fred, you got to just show me something different. Show me you have personality. And at the time, I was always shy. Still to this day, I embrace the shyness now. But even then, I was shy, timid. Again, not out, not comfortable with myself at the end of the day. So I was a good wrestler, but when it came to like speaking or any of that stuff, I didn't want to do any of that. And eventually, at the tryout, it was like my last resort in 2009. And if I hadn't gotten signed May 4th, 2009, I would have probably been a firefighter because I was at that point where I was like, oh man, this is my first tryout. Like, this is big. I have to get signed. I have to. And that day, out of like 75 guys and girls from all over the world, the same day I got signed was the same day AJ Lee got signed. So, yeah, I've had great experiences with WWE, and I always say great things about Vince McMahon because he gave me my last opportunity with Bob Backlund when I came up with that idea to team us up. Vince McMahon loved the idea. I showed him visuals and I had it written out, and he called up Bob Backlund personally, and we started rocking and rolling. And it's just unfortunate that the people that work under Vince McMahon didn't have my back. So, like I said, I use WWE's platform to kind of just keep rocking and rolling with what I'm doing, because, I worked hard and I put a lot of miles on this body. So, yeah, I still use WWE's platform to elevate the masses.
Make Darren Young great again. That was a great gimmick with definite potential for sure. I love that. And Bob Backlund, anything Backlund, I mean, you got to love it.
Yeah, I mean, I had done autograph signings with Bob years before the idea, and tag teams don't last forever. And I said, after I'm done teaming with Titus, I'd like to maybe have like an idea, like a manager or like a life coach. And then I thought of Bob because I had done several signings with him. And then again, I had it written out, visual, showed it to Vince, and we talked for 20 minutes. And I always say the most intimidating thing about Vince McMahon is his office door. And once you kind of get through the door and you have a game plan, you just gotta just come with it. And he was really digging the idea. He always we talked for like 20 minutes, and he asked me, Darren, how do you get such a big barrel chest? And I said, yoga. Just and he was like, really, yoga? And I explained to him that yoga kind of fixes your posture and makes your shoulder blades squeeze together, makes your chest appear bigger. So he was just very intrigued by me saying that yoga would make my chest bigger. So I always share stories like that. I have so many Vince McMahon analogies that he would say in promo class, but nothing but great experiences with them. If they were to invite me back, I'm not signed technically with New Japan. That's definitely the goal. But any major league organization were to sign me, I would definitely jump on board.
So if WWE wanted you back, you'd be interested in heading back to WWE.
Yeah, if they wanted me back full time, because again, I'm not full time with any organization. So any organization that wants to, pick me up, I'm definitely down to do it. Like I said, I still have a lot left in the tank. But again, 2021, my goal is set on New Japan in Japan.
So as far as Vince, I know you said the most intimidating thing maybe was the door and getting him in. How approachable is he once you have, let's say, a good idea like did Bob Backlund make Darren Young great again? How like approachable is he and like talkative is he, or is it one of those things? You got 3 minutes, pal, get in and get out?
Well, the one thing I learned from Titus O'Neil, because when I got signed, and then Titus came in soon after, right off the football field, and he had gotten to a altercation with another FCW wrestler, and at the time I was like, "Oh, I'm going to stay away from Titus. I'm going to stay away from. He's too much trouble." And then fast forward to like him really working and him really busting his ass in developmental, and I would be the first one there and the last one to leave to help him out. And then we did the NXT, and then we were both on the roster at the same time, and him and I would always be laughing, and we would always be together. And I always say anything that happens backstage can normally come to light at times, whether it's promo or whatever. And Vince McMahon would always see Titus and I together, and that's how ultimately we became the Primetime Players, because, again, Vince McMahon seeing us together. And there would be times when we wouldn't be on TV or, whatever, and Titus he'd be, "Hey man, let's go to office," and he would knock on the door and walk in, and I'd be, "Ho ho ho, big man, we gotta have a game plan first." Again, me being nervous, me like being hesitant, but closed mouths don't get fed. Titus is a great guy, but he would go in there and like he would be like, "Hey boss, what you got for us?" And if we didn't have anything on television, we would do stuff on the app when that really came up. We were always doing stuff on the app, and that really took off because of the Primetime Players. So whatever we were doing, I always said Titus got it. Titus got it. So that's what I learned. I said, I learned from Titus. You gotta like bust down doors sometime when the time is right, and that's what I learned from him, and that's what I did with Vince.
And Vince is, they always say, like, "Oh, he's mean, or he's got too many people around him, or he doesn't have enough time for you." Is that ever the
Yeah, definitely
case?
too many people. Definitely too many people.
It's hard to get to him. He's kind of blocked off.
Well, not that. I can get to him right away. I do not care. Like I said, he said in promo class, nervous people don't draw money. Now you could be nervous, like, man, you want to do well, but he said it. Nervous people don't draw money. That's why I remember everything that he says, like whether it was in promo class or even what he would say to me personally. For example, when Titus and I were teaming, we were baby faces. When we get the win, we got to smile. Uh, I guess he would see me and I would be like, "Yeah, we did it, yeah." And then I would come to the back and Vince would say, "Darren, you got to smile more. Let the people in. You're such a handsome young man. Smile more." So I learned. I learned. You get a win, smile. You're doing an interview, smile. Let the people in, because it's all here. It's all here with him.
So with him, and like, let's say, people are at the door, Michael Hayes or whoever's kind of, do people kind of like agents and stuff and producers almost not want people to get in Vince's ear, and they don't want the wrestlers? Is there some kind of blockade? Because they're always the stories from a million wrestlers like, "Oh, there's a line out the door, and only you get a certain amount of time with Vince and this and that."
I I don't I would always tell Titus, and Titus will co-sign to what I'm saying. Titus would say, "Oh, such and such has happened." I said, "Big man, worry about yourself." So I don't know. Maybe people are waiting outside the door for him, but you got to catch him at certain times when he's like, you got to know when like when he's going to Gorilla. You got to know when he's going to his limo. You just gotta pick your moments.
Hmm.
You got to know when he's going to be at the gym. You just got to know, man. I don't know what other people's stories are, but all I can talk about is my experiences with him.
So when you get called up, and obviously, you're doing the NXT thing at first, and like, what do you kind of think about how that is going? Was that one of those things where you're like, I don't know about this, this format or the way that they're going to produce this NXT thing?
I hated it. I hated it.
Hmm.
I hated it. When those yellow ropes would be put on, I would have nightmares, man, because I always say if I wanted to do American Ninja Warrior or if I wanted to do American Gladiator, I would have signed up for that. It was like an obstacle course. And like when I can't juggle. When I'm asked to juggle, a fan watching it is going to be like, look at this guy, man. He's a joke. Turn the channel. So that messed me up mentally, because that confidence was like so low. When you get put in situations that you're not, confident in. Now, what NXT is today, it's incredible. I wish I would have debuted in NXT where, how it is now, because it's off the hook. But I'm, again, still blessed and grateful for the opportunities to be on the first season of NXT. I call myself an NXT OG, so I'm happy to pass the torch.
Yeah, it seemed like that was one of those things where it's like, I don't know if they were thinking correctly when they put that together, because that's not one of those things where you're like, okay, this is wrestling. This is going to get these guys over. And I'm almost just going to do the opposite and take everybody, like you said, take them away from wanting to like these guys.
Yeah, it was tough, man. It was tough. I hated it. You're not the first person that's asked me about my experience. It's the same response. I hated it. I always say that I work best speaking from the heart. And yeah, that experience was not fun doing the obstacles at all.
Was CM Punk a real mentor at all, or is that just all just for the show? He's your quote unquote mentor. Did he help you along at all, or no? I'm gonna guess not.
uh, during that time, it's so funny, man. During that time, we probably said two words to one another. Uh, I don't know if he was happy at the time. I don't think he was happy that he was probably traveling more, because with the NXT at the time, you had to travel an extra day more. I had Zack Ryder on my podcast, Pro and Bro Wrestling, and Zach Matt Cardona talked about that when he was with Mojo. He was working. Zach was working 4 nights a week. Then he had to go up to 5 or 6 nights a week because he was doing NXT. So he was not happy with that, and probably CM Punk wasn't happy either. So we didn't say two words to one another. But fast forward to when I came out publicly in 2013, after his match with Brock Lesnar, he was iced up in catering at the Staples Center here in LA. And he came up to me in front of everyone, because in catering, everyone was watching the show, the monitors and stuff like that of the pay-per-view, SummerSlam. And he came up to me and he told me to stand up. So I stood up and he was like, give me a hug. I gave him a hug, and he said, hey, if you have any problems with anyone in the locker room, you let me know. That was a brave move that you did, coming out publicly. And, as long as you're cool with yourself, that's all that matters. And that meant the world to me. So, for him to do that, I always share that story, because that's a story no one really hears about. And again, I'm going to speak from the heart. And that definitely surprised me. But along with him, it was guys like Randy Orton, Big Show, Mark Henry. I remember when I probably on 4 or 5, I always get the number confused, 4 or 5 different occasions. At the time, Big Show and I were living in Miami, so anytime we would have to travel out, we would be on the same flights. And when I came out, like I don't know how he did it, but he would always somehow get me upgraded to like first class. Like he would do something. I don't know how he did it, but he always took care of me. And like that'll those are stories that I'll always remember and always cherish, of guys that didn't really talk to me, but once I came out publicly, I still get giddy when Randy Orton like retweets or favorites some of my stuff on social media. So I can only imagine how people feel when I do the same for them. So Yeah, it was guys like that that made it a lot easier for me to just walk into a locker room. You know, I go in there, I do my job, I do it well, and then, yeah, you know, I'm a private person. I keep all my stuff, you know, private. You know, I'm there to wrestle. I'm there to entertain.
Yeah, and you were kind of the first ever really to publicly come out, as gay on TV and be a wrestler. So that's awesome that not only Punk but Orton, who's a huge star, and Big Show, who's a huge star, and Mark Henry. I mean, they all supported you backstage. I mean, that's got to be very uplifting for you.
Yeah, you know, you have some favorites and not so favorites, but those are the guys that matter. For people to come up to me and say what they feel, you know, it meant the world to me. It meant the world to me. And I would say my fight is much more bigger than in the ring. It's outside the ring, fighting bigotry and hatred and trying to just be the voice of the voiceless when it comes to not only the LGBTQ community, but anyone that gets bullied into silence. So it's very near and dear to my heart. And for New Japan to embrace my movement and to embrace me, uh, I'm becoming a trailblazer with New Japan. So it's just like, you know, I just get goosebumps just thinking about 2021 can't come quick enough. But who knows, you know, like, but all I can keep doing is speaking it into existence. So many great talent from New Japan, Tanahashi, Kenta, they're all rooting for me, man. This is stuff that people don't hear about. This is stuff that goes down in the DM of me, like telling these guys, man, like you guys are awesome because they are also awesome. But for them to say you are awesome too, man, it's just like it's it makes me emotional.
Yeah, that's very, very cool. New Japan is definitely on your side. Hopefully, 2021 you'll be in Japan wrestling, but over your shoulder I see a great N armband for the Nexus. And you being, one of the original members of Nexus,
Yeah.
that debut on Raw was awesome. It's just shocking and crazy because it goes from like, okay, these guys from TV who were like kind of made to look bad are now pissed off. They're going to debut on TV and they're going to destroy everything. What do you kind of think of the Nexus and forming that team?
Yeah, yeah, that was the original armband that we wore.
Nice.
Again, like we didn't know what the hell was going to happen. It was Miami, Florida, and I remember being in a office and Vince saying that we needed to deliver, and if anything looked terrible, someone was going to get fired. So we knew that we definitely needed to deliver, and we caused havoc, and it was the most fun that I ever had. Heath is like, my goal is to get all the members of the Nexus on my podcast. The first one was my all-time favorite, Heath. Heath and I are like this. He's like the only wrestler. He's like one of the only wrestlers that, like, when he sees you, he's like, Freddie, I love you, man. He's just like, I love his family, and he just like, for another grown man to like say that, he really means it, man. So I had Heath on the podcast, and I always say when I brought him on, I said, here on Pro Wrestling, our next guest, we've set off fire alarms and we've hit under bleachers. I've had so much fun with Heath. And then the next person we had on was Tarver. Tarver and I always clicked, always got along. And then the third was Justin Gabriel. So my goal is to have all the members on: Ryback, Wade. But yeah, I had so much fun with those guys. So much fun that we still stay in contact to this day on a text thread.
Nice. I love it. Nexus is still connecting and there's still
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah.
cohesiveness.
We're still connected, and if you could only see, like sometimes we'll text each other, I don't know, whatever, but then I'll wind up sending them a meme or a video of just something very graphic and disturbing, like, and then they're like, what are you doing, like, where did that come from? Or they send me emojis like, oh, yuck, like very, very like disturbing stuff, and they don't expect that out of me, and it doesn't like match with what we're talking about. So I just like playing with those guys.
Nice. I love it. And now the thing that with the Nexus that was so great to me was I went to a house show at MSG that summer before SummerSlam. Man, when you guys came out of the crowd and were like kind of jump the rail and jump the ring, the crowd was electric for the Nexus. You guys were over like Rover. It was crazy. Do you remember that MSG?
Well, there were a few times like when you said jump over the barricade. There were a few times we're at live events where we're running, we're running, and we hop over, and my dumbass would like fall or something like that, not land on my feet. It was just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
sloppy. So I would run to the barricade and sometimes just like hold on to it tight and then like get over, because I would try to run and try to try to hop over like I'm hopping over a fence, and then for some reason I would just catch my boot and like it wouldn't look good, and then I would like pop up like nothing happened. But that was just on like live events, so that just made me laugh when you said that.
The thing is, okay, so like the Nexus is getting over. I mean, they're getting great reactions, everything else. But then SummerSlam happens, and John Cena ends up getting the victory and defeating Nexus. Kind of kills the momentum. And I know Jericho has said it, and Edge has said it in interviews. It's like they're a part of the match. It's like, hey, we need to lose here. And Vince and Cena are like, no, 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 like, or I guess whatever Cena political pull he had. It was like, no, 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 we need to go over. Do you think that was horrible booking when you look back? Like, yeah, probably a mistake. Nexus should win that.
I mean,
You-
what? I mean, Jericho said it. Edge said
yep,
it.
yep.
I mean, like, it's just all I can do is just agree. Yep, but it is what it is.
It's funny, like they still do it to this day, like Retribution. I know they're not a great gimmick, it's not a great angle, but they lose so much. It's like, okay, how could they get any momentum going if you're going to lose? So the Nexus losing kills all the momentum of them being like this dominant force, destroying the ring and destroying Cena and destroying everything around them. It kind of kills it.
Well, at the moment, Cena wasn't done yet. I mean, Cena's Superman. Cena is the poster boy of WWE. So we caused havoc for a little bit, but then he had to he had to conquer. So I mean, he was at his prime, but definitely Nexus should have ran through Team WWE. Absolutely.
Yeah, the bad booking. What do you think about being the black John Cena, as they always say? And he made the joke about it too.
Yeah, I always say I wish I made John Cena money. I wish I had made black John Cena money. I was saying earlier, I swear, I moved to LA. I see billboards of John Cena doing like his movies and stuff like that. I go into GNC, I see John Cena like endorsing them. I'm like Owen Hart. What about me? What about
Yes,
me?
yes.
I'm like, what the hell, man? But he's everywhere. He's got that Midas touch, and yeah, I see him everywhere. But like I said, I wish I made John Cena type of money. But I always say since day one, if I did this for the money, I would have complained a long time ago. I do it for the love and the passion, and like I said, whether it's in front of 10 people, 10,000, one person, 0 people, I still love it.
You have any sort of relationship, or did you have any sort of relationship with Cena? Like any good chemistry, or what did you kind of think of a relationship with him?
Uh, I think he's just a hard worker. No relationship with him. Uh, I think he's very amazing. I remember seeing him do a press conference in China, and in Chinese, the entire press conference in Chinese. It's incredible. Uh, so he's so talented, and he's so good at what he does that I admire him.
So as far as you and Titus, I know we were talking a little bit about him before and the chemistry, and you guys just kind of rocking and rolling off screen, on screen. You guys just have this funny chemistry, and obviously, that funny dance and stuff like that. Is that just you guys coming up with stuff and riffing and kind of creating your own thing, or you have to collaborate with the creative team?
Yeah, I think with the dance, it came out of a win. We got the win, and we literally like jumped in each other's arms, and we started celebrating. Yeah, we did it. And then we just started going back and forth, and then that's just how it started. The millions of dollars dance, and the people were loving it, and I always talk to Titus. People say, "Oh, do you still talk to him?" Like, why wouldn't I? He's like my brother. Uh, we drove lots of miles together. Me, Mark Henry, and Titus O'Neil. I did all the driving. And Titus would book the hotels and rental cars and get discounts, get hotel rooms for free, get hotel rooms. He had the hookup. Titus Worldwide was Titus Worldwide. Um, but yeah, we had so much fun in the ring.
Take us back to winning the tag team championships. So, a fan, obviously, it's a huge deal. But what was it like to you guys to win the titles?
Yeah, we didn't know what was going to happen with us and New Day. We didn't find out till the last minute. I'm like, oh my goodness. So, fans always say, oh man, we wish that you would have won the titles more. And I say, well, again, another situation, whether we won it 5 times, 10 times, or 1 time, we still won it, and we are still in the history books, at least my history book, of being a tag team champion. So it was a milestone that I'll never forget, and I'm very happy to have held tag team gold. I'm still waiting for WWE to send me the replica belt. They still haven't sent it to me, and I always bust Titus O'Neil's balls because he has the replica tag team title. They still never gave it to me.
Wow, why not? What the hell's going on?
I,
Why can't you get the belt? What the hell's going on?
Life happens. I don't know. Once I got uh, because we held the titles. I don't know what year, 2015 or whatever. Then life happens. Life happens. You get released in 2017, and then like you ask, hey, am I ever gonna get the belt? And well, we don't call them belts in WWE because Vince McMahon would always say belt is what you use to hold up your pants. We call them titles. We call them championships. And I got on, and I dig that Cody Rhodes because he was calling it a belt, and I said, hey, Cody, on Twitter, I said, Cody, remember it's a title. A belt is what you use to hold up your pants. So yeah, I'm still waiting for the championship. So I'm sure it's still in the mail.
Yeah, they lost in the mail, maybe. So,
Yeah.
what do you think about having a longer run? Did you want a longer run? Did you not even think about it? You just enjoyed it. It is what it is.
Well, I would say Michael Jordan can't play basketball forever. Not saying that I'm Michael Jordan, but like, I had just came back from my Tommy John surgery, August 2017. And then a couple months later, October 2017 is when I got released. So I kind of knew it was going to happen. I knew it was like, I just felt it was bound to happen. I'm good. I'm just good about energy. And that's when I moved out to LA full time to pursue other things, acting, commercials, whatever life throws at me, and whatever I hustle to get. And yeah, I moved out here, and then my release happened. So yeah, I was a little upset, but again, life goes on, man. And I'm not on any ban lists because recently with them around the pandemic, I think in April, I did their show, The Bump. So it was an honor to talk about 10 years of Nexus because it's been 10 years, man, since we did the Nexus. And they had us on The Bump, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to talk to Kayla Braxton and just not being on the ban list with WWE. And again, I'm still a fan. You're a fan. I love all wrestling. So I try to catch as much as I can when I can. But yeah.
Nice. Now, as far as your podcast, you were mentioning that. Where can like everybody hear? What are you doing? Is it strictly interviews? What are you doing with the podcast? Because it seems like something that I think your fans will definitely get a kick out of.
Yeah, for me, two of my close friends had suggested years ago, hey, you should try a podcast. You should do a podcast. And once like my friends convinced me, I said, yeah, why not? Because going in, I'm not about the numbers. Like I'm not, oh, I need views and this and that. I do it for fun. I do it for therapy. And we're on episode 64, I believe. Uh, so it's therapy for me to actually do it with my real life neighbor who lives right next door to me. And we call it Pro and Bro Wrestling. And he's a great fan. He's a respectful fan. So I do it with him, and he's like my therapist. He knows me inside and out. And it's a lot of fun. It's funny. It's like all the guests we always have on, it's like they do big things. For example, Big Swole is with AEW. Anthony Bowens is with AEW. And these are people that never did anything with WWE, but have tons of potential. Jake Atlas, NXT, Diana Perrazzo. I'm just thinking off the top of my head of people that we've had on. And then she's with Impact. So it's just funny, like people that kind of like I feel come through my little podcast I have fun with, they go on to do great things, and they don't actually mention it on the podcast. It's like we have them on the podcast, and then a week later they're doing big things. I'm like, oh my god. So yeah, it's a lot of fun for me, and it's practice at talking too, because again, I'm a shy guy. I'm quiet. So doing the podcast, it gets you comfortable with hearing your voice. It gets you comfortable with talking. It gets you comfortable with being a better storyteller. And that's what it's all about. I want to be able to be a better storyteller. Don't die with the story and you tell it, I always say on my podcast, because someone might listen to it and might pick something up. A lot of it is educational. Sometimes we have up and comers on. Sometimes we have like, someone like Chavo Guerrero, who was my NXT coach on Redemption, so for us to be able to share our experiences and stuff like that and what we're up to now is a lot of fun. And for me, I always say I feel accomplished like when I do a podcast, because if I don't do anything or have any wrestling or any meetings during the week, if I'm able to do my podcast once a week, I feel like I've accomplished something. And it's available on I'm having a brain fart. iTunes and YouTube, Pro and Bro Wrestling Podcast. It's been a long one for me today.
I gotcha. Now, as we head towards the finish and head towards the wind down, I always just like to ask. It's almost like somebody like a fan's listening to this and they want to put together a YouTube playlist of your matches. What are some of your favorite matches or favorite opponents that a fan should just type in? Fred Ross or Darren Young, like okay, you versus this guy, that guy. Favorite matches, favorite opponents.
Well, matches to like see me really put in work and really put in time. It would have to be Jake Atlas with NXT versus myself. Probably one of my all-time favorite matches with him. One of them, top 5 at least. So definitely YouTube Jake Atlas versus Fred Rosser. Probably myself versus Ray Jazz in New Jersey. Ray Jazz is an amateur wrestler, 24, I believe, at the time, and I'm 10 years older than him. So he went to South Plainfield High School. I went to Union Township High School. So it was almost like school rivals, having a battle, having it settled in the ring. So that's match number 2. Myself, Fred Rosser versus Ray Jazz. And probably if you look up maybe Darren Young, Fred Rosser versus Sean Spears, I talked to him. I mentioned him earlier about him saying that he really needed that. Those are probably 3 of my top favorite matches that anyone on YouTube new to wrestling or want to just learn how to like see the in-between stuff I do. And, oh, that looks different. If you have a good eye and can pick that up, those are 3 matches. Myself versus Jake Atlas, Sean Spears, and Ray Jazz.
And of course, the Tom Lawler match. Very looking forward to seeing that from New Japan. Looks like a hell of a match as well.
Yeah, on my social media, Twitter, Instagram, @RealFredRosser, my government name. I post highlights of what I can grab from New Japan, and like I said, the highlights are incredible, man. Long highlights. It's like I forget how long the video is, but on my IG it's pretty long, man. It's pretty long, but hopefully I can do round 2 with him in Japan, in the States here. I don't care where, but I need to have him again in the ring.
Now, where do you see yourself in a couple of years? Like, I know WWE is still a possibility. You say New Japan, that's a bucket list thing. You want to wrestle in Japan. Do you see yourself getting more back into acting, keeping with the podcast? Where do you see yourself in a couple of years?
Well, I mean, definitely want to get involved more in acting. I mean, really, wherever I can't force anything, I can only keep continuing to do what I do. And on top of the wrestling, I do a lot of speaking engagements, which have kind of hurt with the pandemic, but I've been able to do a lot of virtual meet and greets. I've been able to do a lot of virtual stuff with a lot of schools, talking to kids about bullying and being able to share my message through Zoom. Zoom is big now. So, however, I can continue to share my story. I love speaking. And I've got my side hustles too with a lot of the sponsorships that I deal with on social media, CBD, THC, keto snack companies, healthy type foods to help you have sustainable energy. So I'm big into fitness and stuff like that. And a personal goal of mine is to get certified. So I'm working on that as we speak. So yeah, Mr. No Days Off just isn't a gimmick. It's a way of life, constant grind, struggle, and hustle. So yeah, 37 years old. I mean, I'm making I say all the time, I'm making my 20s jealous of my 30s now.
Nice. Now, I know you mentioned it briefly before, your social media and all your plugs, but please run through all those again if you could.
Twitter, Instagram, where I make major $1 million moves at Real Fred Rosser, RealFredRosser, my government name. Be a part of my family. You know, holidays around the corner. If you don't have anyone that's a part of your family that supports you, be a part of my family on social media at Real Fred Rosser, baby. Hashtag block the hate.
Awesome. Love it. Fred, thank you so much. I love that you're still not taking any days off, even though there's a pandemic going on, even though COVID is out there killing everybody. Mr. No Days Off. I love it. Good luck getting into New Japan, obviously dominating with New Japan Strong, and obviously on UWN Primetime Live, which is available on Fight TV and in-demand pay-per-views. Fred, thank you so much once again.
Thank you very much for having me. Shin Nihon Pro Less wa Ichiban. That means New Japan Pro Wrestling is the best.